Hello. It's been a while since I made one of these Captain Perk vids, and starting right off the bat, I'll start with the carriers. Now, this actually was a bit of a tricky thing to come to think of, because honestly, right now I feel like you already hit the optimal carrier spec with 16 points, because you obviously want basics of survivability. This is the best T1 skill for any CV. Torpedo reload is the best T2 skill. Torpedo acceleration is the best T3 skill. Or it's not even that they're best, they're really the only really viable ones. Same at T4, aircraft servicing expert is the only really viable. T5, air supremacy is the only really viable one. So you're kind of left with, it feels like 2 extra points. In the past it was only 1 extra point, so I threw it into expert rear gunner, because, well, whatever else were you going to use the point on, but now you kind of have 2 extra points, since this one is rather garbage. So ultimately I think I am going to redistribute. First I'll get the obvious one, which is, but first I get the ones that are the must-haves, basically the ones that you just 100% need. So like, it's kind of funny actually that right now a T15 captain or 15 point captain is going to be pretty much just as strong as an 18 point. Like, the difference between a 15 and 18 is almost negligible these days. So anyways, the last 2 points are my basic firing training, that's slightly better AA, and finally I'm actually going to get fire prevention. Now usually this is a perk I don't rate highly at all, because this one is multiplicative, meaning it doesn't, like, if someone has a 10% chance of setting a fire on you, or let's say if someone has a 7% chance of setting a fire on you, it doesn't actually reduce it to 0 from 7 to 0, but rather it reduces his 7% chance by 7%, meaning it ends up being, what, 6.5% instead. So the actual impact this has is very, very small. But honestly, out of all the possible perks I can think of, this one seems to be simply the most useful to use those last 2 points on. If you're getting bombed and your defensive AA is on cooldown on your CV, like, then I guess this might save you, or it might reduce the chance of, oh well, if someone is shooting at you, you might survive longer because you have that slightly reduced chance of a fire. Honestly, this seems to be the most useful out of all of these perks, or the only way really to spend all your captain points. Ultimately, it seems that this patch has reduced the need for a high point captain on carriers, because, well, these last 2 points are kinda eh. My midway, I have only 1 point. Okay, well, shit, I might as well spend it on this. I'm gonna respec this into fire prevention once I got the points. But I don't really play my midway ever, hence why I already use my captain point, because the midway is in such a sad state now that whenever I play it I just get frustrated. Of course, this midway captain is the same one I would be using on the Saipan, so that's pretty much the identical setup I'd be running. Right, let's move on straight away from this to battleships. So I have one captain perk on, I'll start with the Yamato. And this is of course the same captain I'd be using on the Ishizushi. And is there any other ships I might be using this captain on? I don't think so, there's only one other, that's pretty much the only premium I'd be using it on. This is my standard Yamato captain build, and I think this 1 point that I could get, I will probably, expert loader is way too situational. The issue with expert loader is that you only get this 50% buff once all your guns are already loaded, and usually it's better to just fire your main guns and then switch ammo type, especially since most of the time you'll be, or 99% of the time you'll be having AP loaded, and using AP on a destroyer has the potential to one-shot him, so there's never really any, this skill is very rarely, if ever, actually justified. So the only T1 perk worth getting is basic firing training, since, well, CVs love you when you're a Yamato. So this is my standard Yamato build. Basics is of course the most important battleship perk, expert marksman, and then in order of importance I go vigilance, AFT, superintendent, and manual fire AA to get that meaty 84 anti-air. Still, if a T10 CV targets you, you're still gonna melt, but hey, at least you can slow him down. And then, moving right on, Montana. This is the same captain I use on Arizona and on Texas. I think those are the only battleships the US battleship line has. So let's see. Okay, actually, ooh, well, isn't this fancy? I'm actually able to execute my stealth build significantly better now. Wow, this is fantastic. Let's see. Redistribute. Of course, the most important captain perk build, first captain perk is basic survivability. For those that don't understand, having this perk is the same thing as having another one of these modules that reduce your flooding and fire chance, or flooding and fire duration. So having a 50% reduced fire when you get HE spammed all day and torped all day, 15% flooding reduction is just amazing. Right, so I can actually execute my... I think this is going to be quite amazing. Vigilance for those torps in T10, just so many DDs, advanced firing training for both anti-air and secondaries, stealth because I run a stealth Montana build. I don't need it on the Yamato because you don't need to hide from any Yamatos. Oh, but see, this is amazing. Now I don't need to spec into situational awareness anymore, and I can get superintendent now. So you actually don't need to give up the heal anymore in the stealth build. God damn. Okay, well, my stealth Montana build just got significantly stronger in this patch. Holy crap. And in return, this will make my Texas and Arizona builds both significantly stronger as well. So the Montana, my stealth Montana build definitely benefited heavily from this patch. Holy shit. Right, let's move on to the other battleships, the Tirpitz. Let's see. I've gone for the very same build I use on my Yamato, as you can see, except of course on the Tirpitz you want to go into manual fire control before you go into AFT, simply because the Tirpitz has a huge amount of its AA on these big guns, these big caliber guns. You can see 134 DPS, whereas these small guns have barely any damage at all. So that's why you want to get manual AA and double the effectiveness of them as soon as possible, and then you get AFT to increase the range. In this case, those I just got 1 extra point. Ultimately, when I get 18 points, I want to go for superintendent, but that's going to take ages, and I have the doubloons to respec, so I'm just going to get basic firing training for now. When I eventually do get the captain high enough, I'll of course get superintendent. In fact, yeah, I can get superintendent. No, never mind, I can actually get superintendent with less 3 points. I'm an idiot, I can't count. Nice. I really like that Tirpitz endgame build. Warspite. Say, Warspite. Well, nothing has really changed here. Wait. Oh, because I already spec'd it. Shit, I already spec'd this before I started this commentary. My bad. Anyway, I had enough points to get Superintendent, Vigilance, AFT, and well, it's my basic captain perks. And here now, next point I'll probably use into basic firing training, and later on, then I'll have the last 4 points I'll use into manual fire control. Once again, a very basic battleship build, which I consider the most efficient use of the points you can have. Is there any other battleship? Oh, there's the Kongo one. Which Kongo captain do I have a lot of points on? I guess it's this one I have a lot of points on. Well, you can see I've been working on the same build, but because the Kongo is such a low tier battleship compared to like this T10, T8, so forth, you don't, and the Kongo has such garbage AA to begin with. I don't consider buffing it worth it. Rather, I would buff my torpedo avoidance against all the Kamikazes at this tier, and of course my superintendent for an additional heal. I got that 1 point extra I could use now. I rarely if ever play this ship, so I might as well buff my secondaries and AA. Right, that's pretty much all I need to do on that, and that's all the battleships covered, I think. Right, let's move on to the cruisers. I'll start with the T10 cruisers as usual. Let's start with the Hindenburg. The Hindenburg, well, I already spec'd this 1 point. Jesus, can this one dude stop trying to play with me? I'm fucking doing a commentary. Alright, the Hindenburg, I've obviously already spec'd. In this case, I think I've taken... Yeah, well, I've just gone for my basic build. This is the same thing I'm using on my Yamato, except instead of AFT, I use fire chance. I'm pretty sure that I'm running this build on every single one of my cruisers. I think this might be my go-to cruiser build that I found the most efficient on every single one of my cruisers. Yep. So all my T10 cruisers run exactly the same build. Basics of survivability, expert marksman, both vigilance and last stand. I mean, not last stand, Jesus, superintendent. Fire chance from demolition expert and stealth, which is of course a must-have on every single T10 ship. Or well, must have on any T10 cruiser and destroyer, let's say it like that. And this build, this is of course the same build that I run on the Atago, or same build I run on the Kutuzov, same build I will run on the Myoko if I ever actually get the points for that. Right now you can see it's a work. I'm probably never actually gonna get 18 points on this Hakuryu because I don't play the Hakuryu nearly enough, so I'll just get BFT for now. But of course if I actually got the 18 points then I'd... actually this is a T7 ship, it doesn't have the heal. So I might go a different route. Hell, I might even go torpedo reload or maybe faster repair or something, I don't know. It's a T7 ship, so I don't care too much about it since 18 points isn't really a priority there. So that's the same stuff I'd run on the Molotov, same stuff I'd run on the Murmansk, what other cruisers do I have? Krasny Krim, Marblehead. Yeah, that's the same perks I would run on pretty much all those premium ships. The only the Indianapolis I would run the Moines, so basically still the same. Now the only exception here is the Atlanta, which is a bit of a weird beast since unlike all these other ships, he benefits from these he has smaller guns than 139mm, so he benefits from AFT. So in this case, I actually got an extra point now. What do I want to use it for? I think I might actually know what I want to do now. One of the issues with the Atlanta is you kind of tend to lose engine and steering quite often on it when you get damage. So I actually think I'm gonna try a build. Basic firing training. Once again, you get the full reload for your main guns on the Atlanta. Expert marksman. Wait, do you even need expert marksman? What's the turret traverse on this thing? Jesus, you don't even need expert marksman, do you? It's 6.5. What is it without this? Let's check this out. What's my turret traverse without this? 7.2. So what? That's such a small benefit. Do I even want to get that? Do I even want to get that? Pretty sure last stand is significantly better. Pretty sure last stand is simply a better perk. I mean, you're pretty much an oversized DD with none of the DD perks. Vigilance I really like, since you're constantly fighting DDs anyway. Advanced firing training, of course. Stealth, of course. So this far, I like this build. Okay, now the question is, what do I want with my last 2 points? This is a decent perk for cruisers. As you can see, that's the main perk I've chosen on all my other cruisers. This is certainly a decent perk, especially on the Atlanta, since you tend to lose turrets quite a bit. So having them repair quicker is of course fantastic. But having a... Oh, you're right, you have radar now. Jesus, I need to check. Let's see, consumer... Holy shit. Oh, this to remind you guys, you need to turn on auto resupply on all your ships now. It's gone off by default, so you need to turn that on. Let's see, what's my cooldown on this premium repair? Premium repair cooldown is 228. That's almost 4 minutes. That's very close to 4 minutes actually. If you add in the time this is active, you're probably going to be popping this radar once per 4 minutes. So 3 radars is like 12 minutes already gone. So an additional radar is of questionable use. Very questionable use, in fact. Torpedo reload. You don't really use the torps enough to justify it. The range is too short. The range is simply too short. Well, there's an iffy question. Incoming fire alert, I mean, you should be aware if you're being shot at anyway, especially in an Atlanta. Huh. But none of the other perks are really that good for you. Do I really want to reduce my turret traverse from 7.2 to... This is honestly surprisingly difficult. I think I might... Incoming fire alert. Would it really be worth it? Maybe if you're fighting another DD, that extra warning, if you're tunnel visioning or something. I'll feel like this is something I'll take simply because I can't think of anything better to take. This is one of those cases where I feel like you already achieved the full build with 15 points and these extra points are kind of like whatever. I don't usually use this because I usually count on having a good enough map awareness to not need it, so I don't see it necessary. No, I don't. Ultimately, I don't like it because I don't like having to rely on a skill I don't normally use on a ship. Shit. This one is so mediocre because it's multiplicative. Shit, what do I even want with my last two captain perks? What do I even want? Shit, this is such a hard pick now. This is such a hard pick now. Do I want to save up and just get this instead? Or perhaps save up and get Superintendent so I never run out of radar, so I got basically I can use a radar on the cooldown, but you kind of already can do it if you use the premium consumable. Honestly, I'm gonna take this. At least this will be 100% useful the entire time, but I'm not convinced that this is the best perk in any way. The buff it gives is so small. Damn, ended up wasting quite a lot of time on that, sorry about that. I'll add timestamps to this commentary so you guys can skip to whatever ships you want, since this Atlanta dilemma is actually quite interesting. Anyway, let's move on to the ones probably most affected here, the DDs. I'll start with Shimakaze. Of course, 18-point captain. I have 1 point, and I feel like Basics of Survivability is probably the best perk I can get here, because I don't want to give up Torpedo Reload, it's simply too good. And there's no other perk I really want to give up. I already have the reload spec by default, so pretty sure Basics of Survivability is just going to be the best perk I can get from my Shimakaze here. I see nothing else that could be better, because Superintendent is fantastic, yes, but at this point I would have to give up, because I can't give up Last Stand, that's a must-have, and I don't want to give up my Torpedo Reload for another consumable, so yeah, Basics of Survivability is pretty straightforward. Actually, this is the same captain I use on my Kamikaze, Fujin, whatever, all these lower tier DDs are called. Let's see, Khabarovsk next. Oh, this is actually a captain build that I've been meaning to do a commentary on, but I haven't gotten around to it. But thanks to this patch, it's actually going to be highly efficient. Basically, the point of this captain build is that you ignore... Let's see. You ignore the 5th skill point altogether, and you go for full firepower, range and survivability, and you play more like a light cruiser, and you don't really sit in smokes that much. All you do is you basically just pump out damage 24/7. You play it more like Kiev at T7 than you do like a normal Khabarovsk. The issue is of course without Concealment Expert you can't contest caps as well, but you never really were that good at contesting caps, and this is a new build I've been experimenting with, which I've been actually enjoying quite a bit. I need to get around to making a commentary, but this current Khabarovsk build with faster gun reload, last stand, vigilance, and then 3 tier 4 perks has been very interesting so far, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So definitely a build worth trying. Gearing, Okay, once again I have the captain perk. I'm at the same dilemma I was with the Shimakaze. Whereas Shimakaze has health, of course, because it's a Japanese DD and you want to survive as long as possible. On the gearing I have fire chance because you use your guns so much. Basics of survivability, I think it's fairly straightforward. Oh god damn it, my phone! Of course it would hit me in the middle of my commentary. Fuck off, I don't want to talk with you, sorry about that. And yeah, that's the gearing. Finally, let's see the Luoyang. This is interesting. Oh, this is actually really interesting. I'm at 17 points. Oh, that actually means that you can get a really good... Now with this current build you can actually get a fantastically good captain build at 17 points already. For the Luoyang I go for HP. This is a knife fighter. You spend a lot of time... Basically the Luoyang is played as a knife fighter, as you've probably seen in all my commentaries. You tend to fight other DDs at close range a lot. So actually, wow, this is really good. At 17 points you get a really good build. 18 points is naturally where you get basics of survivability, just like the others. But you don't need expert marksman on the Luoyang, since it's basically Benson. So you can see my 180 degree turn is 5.3 seconds. So expert marksman is just as useless as it kind of would be on the Atlanta. And fuck off all these background noises. It all has to hit during my commentary, of course. So yeah, definitively what I would run. This is definitely the build I would run for. Blyska. One captain perk. I already have an 18-point build. The Blyska, as you can see, I run slightly differently. AFT for the additional range. If you play for ranked, I use survivability expert, but for random battles, I just use advanced firing training, since it's such a good stealth shooter. And here you can see that I run expert marksman, because unlike these other ones, the Blyska doesn't have that fast of a main battery, so you needed to get it down to a comfortable level. So this is fairly straightforward, basics of survivability. I mean, this is still a good perk. It's just that it's not as useful on DDs, because you can get a 40-second cooldown on your module. Shit, I should have done this on all these ships I went through. Oh well, whatever, I'll get around to doing it later. Anshan, let's see, how's my Anshan captain looking? The problem with the Anshan is you kinda need to get... There's really no point wasting any points anywhere. Is there? No, not really. The problem with the Anshan right now is you have to get a 17-point captain to make it useful, because you need both concealment expert, last stand, and expert marksman. You need these three perks extremely heavily, and of course AFT, to be a very efficient Anshan captain. So all I really need to do is level here. Maybe actually I should get this last point, then I can probably spec out of this, and I'll have 3 points, and I can get something like superintendent for now, while I'm farming for both concealment. But the biggest problem with Anshan is the turret traverse is absolutely horribly sluggish. So you need expert marksman. It's 30 seconds without expert marksman, so you can see it makes a huge difference. And you need last stand, because you're obviously a gunboat DD. So the Anshan is probably one of the most perk necessary DDs in the game right now. Anyway, that should have been all my destroyers. Of course, the same captains are used on similar type DDs of the same nation. Wait, was that all the ships? Hey, I think I actually covered all the ships finally. Awesome. Is there any other special little weird ships I might have forgotten? Nope, I think I managed to cover them all. Well, I hope you enjoyed my go-through of all my captains. This one ended up being interrupted by a million things, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway.